Hey everybody, welcome to the second part of my video where I will present you my team with which I won the UK 2015 National Championships. You can already see it on the screen. It consisted of Kangaskhan, Gengar, Landorus T, Rotom Heat, Aegislash, and Sylveon. In part 1 we already went down what happened at German Nationals. If you saw this video you might realize that I'm using a different Rotom form now. I used Rotom Wash at German Nationals, but switched to Rotom Heat for several reasons. First of all, you might have realized that I lost against the Charizard team in the top 32, and my team's matchup against Charizard wasn't really that great. Especially if it had like Tailwind support, which my opponent had in top 32 at German Nationals. And I really didn't have a great way of stopping it. I mean, I did have the Gengar to outspeed and like hit it with Sludge Bombs and Choice Scarf Landorus T, but if it was like in hard speed control, that was really a troublesome matchup because it could just Solar Beam the Rotom Wash. And guess what? One German national is, yep, a Charizard with Tailwind. So I was expecting a rise in Charizards for the UK nationals, or at least not a decline. And I was expecting that Rain would die down a little bit more because the winning team at German Nationals by Blackleg also had a Mega Venusaur. And Mega Venusaur and Mega Charizard, obviously that's a pretty good combination, or like, not combination, like you don't bring them together, but both of those are pretty good against Rain teams. So I didn't expect too many of those, and I was kind of right. We'll go down my games that happened there in a bit, but overall this was definitely a good decision. I also changed Power Punch to Low Kick on my Kangaskhan, and some spreads. I think Lando got a little bit bulkier, but yeah, it was like the same team once again. Um, so I'll start just going one by one so you can see the exact moves and EV spreads. So the first one I chose was basically Mega Kangaskhan. I already said it in the first video. I just think Mega Kangaskhan the most reliable Mega, especially for nationals. Um, with Fake Out, it can stop so many like setup stuff and so on. Like against frail teams, it's so good. It has priority. It hits twice. Yeah, it's just fantastic in my opinion. I went with a spread that was very effective back at the time of nationals, but I wouldn't recommend using it anymore. Because what I did was I used max speed adamant Kangaskhan with enough bulk to tank like superpower or low kick, and then dump the rest into attack, which gets it to a nice attack stat that is equal to what Jolly max attack Kangaskhan's have. So it hit as hard as Jolly Kangaskhan would, but with more bulk. And max speed with an adamant nature was generally enough to outspeed bulky Charizards, um, outspeed bulky opponents, Kangaskhan, and other stuff. And I never really saw the need to go with Jolly. Um, I went with Inner Focus, and it definitely helped against Rain teams because Ludicolo often likes to fake out Kangaskhan. And yeah, as for moves, I had Power Punch at German Nationals, but it really didn't help me at all, and I didn't really miss Low Kick, but Power Punch just didn't do anything, and I thought Low Kick would be a better choice because I expected more Kangaskhan to show up at UK Nationals. And I don't know, Low Kick is just generally more powerful and also helps more against Heatran, for example. As I switched my Rotom Wash against Rotom to Rotom Heat, Heatran was a little bit more of a threat, I guess. So yeah, I just wanted the extra insurance for Low Kick. Also, hitting Hydreigon was pretty nice because my team, even though I had Sylveon, was still a little bit weak to it. So yeah, so here we have my spread. I mean, you can try and copy it, but I'll definitely post a paste bin of the team in the description, but I don't think it's too effective anymore. As Kangaskhan's right now tend to go either like very slow or jolly max speed, and yeah, being in the middle is kind of awkward, especially like with this you hit 152 speed and that's right below jolly assault vest Landorus T, which is not really something you want to have. So I wouldn't recommend using it right now. But back then, yeah, it was a pretty neat spread. Did what it had to do, gave me the bulk I needed, and still like maintained the attack power. The next Pokemon on the team is Gengar. I'm really like I fell in love with Gengar in 2014, where it helped me win the German national championships. Back then it was like a meta call because like everybody had Kangaskhan running around and nobody really knew how to deal with it. Um, but with my Mawile and Gengar back then, I really had a perfect matchup against it. Also, like I had Salamence, Garchomp, Rotom. That team was cool. I really like that team. But anyway, I also like Gengar, and I thought at the beginning of this season that it might still be worth testing it at least. But then it was okayish, but I used the set that I used to win the Arena Cup in Bremen, which happened at the end of 2014 in the 2014 Plus format. And back then I used the Gengar that had Icy Wind, Will-O-Wisp, Sludge Bomb, and Taunt. That was then later popularized by Aaron Zhang. So I started using that set, and I don't know, like it's just I didn't feel like it was as good anymore because like Thundurus, for example, could shut it down easily with Thunder Wave and Taunt, and then Scarf Rock Slide really stopped it because like the chance of hitting Will-O-Wisp through Rock Slide is not that big actually. Um, yeah, and then also like other megas popped out. Like it wasn't only Kangaskhan anymore, so I don't know, but I wasn't really able to get rid of Gengar because with Focus Sash it's just so good at just like standing there, burning something, sludge bombing something, protect, and then maybe get off another attack or something. There's really no way to really counter Gengar unless you, as I said, have like Thundurus. But I had like Rotom and Landorus and Kangaskhan, so I didn't like fear Thundurus at all. Um, and I just really liked having Gengar in like Sun matchups because you could just outspeed everything and Sludge Bomb and have a nice chance to poison. And against Perish Song you could switch out, against Trick Room you could even bring it, and so on and so on. And while yeah, like it isn't the greatest mon anymore, I definitely think that back in Nationals it really helped me in some games, and I definitely do not regret to bring it. This year I used Sludge Bomb over Taunt because with Sylveon being around, it just felt to be more convenient, and Shadow Ball as its only attacking move is a little bit underwhelming after some time. So yes, Gengar did a pretty good job again. Whenever you don't know what to bring, I could just bring Gengar and it would be fine. It would never disappoint me. So that was Gengar. The spread is like very generic, just Timid 252 to 52. And the 4 HP are placed into HP, even though it gives a stat which is dividable by either 16 or 8, which is generally not something you want, but it adds another roll against max special attack Hyper Voice from Spec Sylveon, sorry. So that's why I went with HP, even though it doesn't look very nice, the HP stat that is. Okay, so my Landorus was a Choice Scarf variant, standard moveset, Earthquake, Rock Slide, Superpower U-Turn, but my spread was a little bit different from what most people were running back then. I think the most common one was still 252 attack, 252 speed, however it never really felt like I needed that much, and I really liked the bulk that it had, because with that HP investment you could just switch in on Kangaskhan, for example, and take attacks better, like Fake Out or even Return. The speed was still enough to outspeed like Mega Manectric, for example, which could be like a threat, as well as Space 130 mons. And the attack stat was still enough to 1-hit KO Hydreigon with Superpower or to rake him with Earthquake, and I was perfectly fine with that. I think the spread was pretty cool, the bulk helped on some occasions, though if I was to run Choice Scarf Landorus again, I would probably just go with max attack, because I think like between Nationals and now, I kind of learned that sometimes it is better to just not calc too much and not to overthink spreads too much, because with something like Landorus, generally you want to have as much damage output as possible. It helped me with this team to have the bulk because I didn't really have anything very bulky except for like semi-bulky stuff like Rotom and Sylveon, and then Agent Slash was bulky, so having something that could just switch into resisted attacks and then do it repeatedly was really helpful. Landorus also did an amazing job at both tournaments. Scarf Rock Slide is not something you want to miss, and yeah, Earthquake. While I had 2 mons that resisted that were Levitate users, or like levitate Pokemon with the ability to levitate. And then I had Aegislash with Wild Guard, so that was fine. U-turn, really cool move. Also with the speed, you are most of the time slower than opposing Choice Scarf Landorus, and if they should decide to U-turn out, you get to see what they bring in and then can react accordingly if you also went for the U-turn. So that was kind of nice, and yeah, that was Landorus. This spread I think I could still recommend if you were going for a Choice Scarf. The next set, Aegislash, I was running the also famous Shadow Wall, Substitute Wild Guard, and King Shield set. The first time I was introduced to the set was in 2014, where the Japanese player Bisho, who you might probably know for his famous Mega Venusaur, Garchomp, Salamence, Rotom Heat, Azumarill, and Aegislash team. And he also had a team that featured this very Aegislash set that only has one attacking move. I think the theory behind it is pretty known at this point. Aegislash's typing is just so good that you can get up substitutes versus, for example, Kangaskhan, Landorus T locked into Joy Scarf, Guardy that was popular, kinda, Amoonguss, and so on and so on. So substitute really a very good move. Protects it from status that like something King Shield can do for you, so you have substitute to do that. Leftovers is a perfect item for Aegislash. Regenerating every turn is really big, especially if you're switching forms so often and going for protect like almost every second turn. Yeah, I don't know, it was just really a good set, and I knew that White Guard would be helpful against like the Sand teams and against Guardy teams, and I never really thought about any different set, I think. It was funny because then like Barish also used it, and we were talking about Aegislash before, and Billa said like, yeah, like we have to come up with something cool, and but we didn't really want to tell each other about like what we really thought was the best spread or like the best set. But he had asked me about something to deal with Mega Guardy, and I told him to maybe look into Iron Head or Safety Goggles because I didn't want to reveal Substitute White Guard. But then he, like in the end, he was like, yeah, like I went with such a White Guard, like it's so good. And I was like, yeah, dude, I also ran it, and then we were like laughing. Yeah, I'm happy you also did well with it. It's definitely a cool set, however, nowadays, with so much Assault vs Landorus T, with Knockoff running around, with so much Heatran running around, like all the Guardy players and teams, like they learned how to deal with this set. Choice Scarf, Landorus, like it's not only that Assault vs Landorus is more popular right now, it's also that Choice Landorus is less popular, because you could obviously like versus Choice Scarf Landorus, you were perfectly fine. You could come in on any move except for Earthquake and then go for White Guard to block Rock Slide, for example. But yeah, Assault Vest will just knock you off, and then that's it. The HP number, like HP AVs reach 161, so that's some nice leftovers recovery number, and you can also like sub more times. Like you can sub 5 times straight with protecting in between. And then max special attack and just dump some speed to, yeah, like outspeed other Aegislashes. This set was very good. I really enjoyed running it. Sometimes I obviously did miss Flash Cannon, but it was definitely worth going for the White Guard set. And now the last member, as I said in the first video, was kind of glue to help versus Hydreigon, versus Rotom Wash, versus Rain a little bit, and versus Amoonguss, and I went with a Safety Goggles Sylveon set. I think Osiris from the UK, Lee Provost, he used it before, but then like nobody really caught onto that. But then I don't know, I just was like, I need a fairy, and then I need something to take spores. I was close to running Whimsicott actually, but I couldn't really make it work. So I was like torn between either Safety Goggles Togekiss or Safety Goggles Clefable or Safety Goggles Sylveon, and I was like, oh my god, what are you doing? All those sets are bad, like everything is bad. But then in the end, I think I found a good move set for it with Hyper Voice Protect, Hidden Power Ground, and Helping Hand to make it like also offensively pressuring. I had a good EV spread that could take like returns or double edge from Mega Salamence. And still maintain nice special attack of stat of 165, I believe. It was really cool set. I didn't bring it in too many games in Germany at least, but then in the UK, especially in like the finals, it did an amazing job. But then also in some previous rounds, it really helped me. And I'm definitely glad that I was able to create a set that could do the things I needed and that didn't really make my team like wacky. And yeah, it's not the best set on Sylveon, I think, but still something that you could probably try out if you are weak to the stuff I mentioned before. Also, Improg round was pretty nice versus some Heatrans. But now let's get started. Oh no, we forgot the Rotom. I'm sorry. I wanted to get started with the games already. But yeah, because Sylveon was actually the last member I added to the team. But yeah, Rotom was the thing that changed from Germany to the UK, so I wanted to talk about that last. My spread here is modest, very speedy, max HP because you definitely need that on Rotom, Citrus Berry because you definitely need it on Rotom in my opinion. I'm really not a fan of any other item on Rotom, except for Scarf maybe, but like Life Orb and Safety Goggles are not good on Rotom in my opinion. But okay, at least for like this kind of pivot thing, if you have like Tailwind, I don't know. Anyway, so this set basically was meant to beat the like Charizard teams and like hit hard against all other teams too. I think against like Chalk variants, Rotom Heat can do some damage, like some stuff. If you have like Aegislash and Rotom Heat and you can like protect it with White Guard from the Rock Slides from Landorus T, then you can burn everything and you're like good. That's actually what happened in some of my games too. But now Assault vs Landorus T really gives it some trouble. Swagger Thunderous also gives it some trouble. But I'm not really sure if Rotom Heat is good anymore in this format. But like right now, I'm all onto the Thunderous train, and my electric type of choice is Thunderous most of the time. But I think Rotom can definitely still be a candidate for your team if you need a Fire type and also some kind of like resistances to like common types. So yeah, Rotom Heat, definitely the right call, but we will go onto that when I come to the games. So let's start with the games at UK Nationals. First round, I played against Lee Chadwick, I've never heard about him before, but before we start with that, I really gotta criticize the UK organizers a little bit because I think it took like 4 hours after registration until the first round started, maybe something like that, and then for every round it was at least 1 hour of downtime after you played a game. Like you play a game and then 1 hour waiting, and then that happened like after every round. So by the end of the day, you played 9 rounds in like 13 hours or something? 12 hours at least. Like, it was ridiculous. And I've been up, like I was up since maybe like 8 AM or something. And then we went over to the venue at like 9 or something. And then we stayed there until 11 maybe? That's 14 hours? I don't know. It was ridiculous. So yeah, not really a fan of bad organization, and I really hope that they get their act together for this year's national tournaments and that we can actually enjoy Pokemon again, because that day really was not enjoyable for me at all. Even though I did pretty well, there wasn't anything to enjoy about it. Like so much waiting time, so much downtime. The food was so expensive, but okay, I think I made a forum post about this somewhere, but anyway. Okay, so now let's start with the games. My first opponent didn't have any items, but he was a nice guy, I believe. Yeah, I just 4-R'd him, and then I had to wait another hour for my next battle, which was not really helping my like concentration kind of thing. Because I mean, you're like on adrenaline the whole day, and then it just takes and takes and takes more time. But yeah, so my second round opponent, Thomas Platter, brought a team of Heatran, Cresselia, Landorus T, Mega Gallade, Gengar, and Zapdos, and I didn't really know what to bring against this team because Gengar is actually like really difficult to deal for my team. I mean, Landorus can attack it, of course, but it can just Will-O-Wisp it, and then it's Gengar versus Gengar, which is not nice. and like Rotom can get Sludge Bomb and poisoned, Aegislash can get Shadow Balled, and Sylveon can get Sludge Bombed, and Kangaskhan obviously can get Will-O-Wisp. So my team's matchup against Gengar wasn't really too good, but he didn't bring it. So I was relieved to see Cresselia and Heatran lead against my, I think I had Gengar and Rotom Heat. However, he went for the Trick Room turn 1, which I thought was pretty interesting, and then made me believe that his Landorus was probably a slow variant, or that he didn't bring his Mega Gallade, because those two are obviously like pretty fast. However, I think then he switched into Landorus and reversed the Trick Room at some point, and it turned out to be Scarf Landorus, which was not what I was anticipating, and then I lost something there. And then I thought I had a way to win the game for sure, but then my Gengar won the speed tie against his Gallade, and I Shadow Balled him before he went for a close combat and got the drops. So then he lived the Shadow Ball with like 10 HP or something, or maybe even less, and could KO my Kangaskhan, I think. And then in the end, there was still some out for me, but I didn't get the rolls I needed to. And I think he Heatwave burned my Gengar as well. And then, he couldn't really touch Gengar, I think, but it just went down by burn, and then I somehow lost this game. Yeah, well played by my opponent. He had made some interesting decisions, but that can happen. And then after that, I was obviously even more angry about the whole tournament thing, and then I had to wait yet another hour. And it wasn't really the best day, but I just skipped the whining part for a little bit, and let's head to the round 3. I was up against Luigi Orsi, who's a player from Italy. I didn't know him before, but I knew that he had like a lot of good PC finishes, and his team also was something that I thought looked pretty good again, at least. He had Scrafty, Landorus, Heatran, Mega Venusaur, Rotom, and Mega Gardy. So 5 out of 6 are the same as the team my friend Wolfie used to win regionals that year. And Mega Venusaur wasn't really something I was particularly looking forward to playing against. I knew my friend Dufflo would be bringing it to nationals, and I really didn't want to play him. So I had this, in my opinion, not very good matchup here. He led with Double Intimidate against Kangaskhan, which was also not something I was very happy about. But I think with Rotom and H-Slash, I was able to like burn and stall and so on, and then yeah, I just like got into good positions and was able to beat him pretty cleanly, so I was happy with that. Got one of my worst matchups out of the way, so I was happy with that. The next round though, I had another bad matchup, but not because like the teams or whatever, but because it was against a good friend, Lee Osiris, and whoever of us would lose this game was confirmed to like have to go undefeated for the remaining day to be able to advance to Top Cut. His team is like back then. I'd say it's like a good team, but now I would say it's like a fantastic team because it was using Chalk plus Sylveon, which is not something people were like they didn't really catch on to that back then. And Lee definitely proving that he's a fantastic player. I mean, top 8 at Worlds the year before, and he was able to really identify what the good mons are. He used Air Balloon, which is also something that, for example, Conan Thompson likes to use, as far as I know. So another interesting choice that is like good. And yeah, just a good team. But I think with like some luck and with Gengar and Rotom hitting the wolves I needed them to hit, and then some like good predictions. I think I missed an overheat on his Amoonguss when I predicted it not to switch out, and then however, luckily I was able to hit it the next turn, as he predicted me to like predict him to protect or switch out, but he didn't do it, and then I hit it again and then it hit. So I was in a good position after that. Then he Heatwave burned my Gengar though, and then in the end it came down. Like I had an option to just time stall him, and then I won on timer. So yeah, good game. I was very happy later that day when I found out that he made it through Swiss by winning every single other game. So once again, good job on that. The 5th round was against a fellow German player, Timo Kopic, who goes by 37TK1, I guess. His team was built by Eloy, and yeah, they're like mostly building together. They have like their little group, and I kind of knew what to expect here. However, I think they added the Hydreigon for this nationals, and Hydreigon was not something I was like really happy to play against. However, he didn't bring it that game, which was good for me. As to the 4 he brought were really weak to Rotom Heat, and after just a couple of turns I got a little bit, I don't know, like I wasn't really paying too much attention anymore because I mean I definitely was paying attention, but I wasn't really thinking that well anymore. I got a paralysis on Thunderbolt and his Heatran. I was like, yeah, like that is out of the way now, and then I just didn't see anything that could touch my Rotom. But then he made a fantastic play, and he had skill swapped himself, like he had skill swapped his Heatran and gave it Levitate, and then the next turn he skill swapped my Rotom Heat and giving it Flash Fire, taking away Levitate, and all of a sudden I was 4 times weak to ground moves, and his Heatran tried to go for the Earth Power, but it was fully paralyzed. Yeah, so that would have KO'd me. He went for it the next turn, and I predicted him not to do it, and then it took out my Rotom, and I, like, even though I get another turn, I was like very, very like thrown back in my game. I just should have switched it out and then brought it back later. There was nothing you could have done against my Rotom, but I lost it to that like stupid mistake of myself. However, in the end, I made the right reads and doubled into something that didn't protect. Like I think he protected Charizard, I doubled into his Thundurus. But then I still, no, I doubled into his Thundurus and he protected Charizard, yeah. And then I still got like a critical hit on his Charizard, and he still could have won without that crit. So, yes, that was very, very lucky, but that was like my own fault to make it to that point, and yeah, I just shouldn't have let my Rotom faint there ever. So yeah, I'm sorry for that. Like he really deserved to top cut the national, but he just failed because of me being lucky. So yeah, sorry again for that. However, if you want to win a big tournament, you gotta have some luck. Next round, the luck was against me a little bit as I was playing against Eugenio Discalzi from Italy. I didn't know who he was, but it turned out to be a friend of Arash, and then yeah, I would later face him again in the tournament. But I never really saw his team before. However, I played against Bissigus Bisbark some weeks before for a German online tournament, and he was using a very, very similar Mega Mobile Trick Room team. And I figured out that leading with Kangaskhan and Aegislash gave me a pretty decent shot at beating those teams, even though Kangaskhan, I mean, really look at it, he has Dusclops, Hariyama, Mega Mobile, Talonflame, with potentially Will-O-Wisp, Heatran, and Cresselia. Like, what is Kangaskhan going to do? But yeah, I really like had a plan figured out for those Trick Room teams, and it really worked until the point where I missed Will-O-Wisp on his mobile, and then I just came short of KOing his Dusclops as I doubled it with Thunderbolt and Shadow Ball. I didn't want to go for Overheat because I was afraid that it could miss, and then his Dusclops, who was at like, I don't know, 65% before that, hang on with like 1 HP or something and managed to get up the Trick Room for a second time. So there wasn't really anything I could do to stop him. Good game, but I got my revenge later on, so I guess that's fine. However, now that also meant that I needed to win the remaining 3 games in order to make it to the top 64 or like top 32. And my 7th round, I was surprised that I didn't know the name of my opponent. But I mean, obviously there's like a lot of people playing, so you can't know everybody. It was Katie. She had a team consisting of Rotom Wash, Garchomp, Amoonguss, and Kangaskhan, which she brought, and then Tyranitar and Sylveon, she didn't bring. I think I led with Sylveon, and right from the get-go I had a pretty good matchup against almost all of the team except for the Kangaskhan, and I just spammed some Hyper Voices, and then she got back into the game by predicting me to switch out my Aegislash, and she went for a Power Punch on the Aegislash as I switched into something, and all of a sudden she was like +2. However, I still managed to like play around it, and then eventually I won the game. So yeah, I was happy with that, but I still need to win 2 more. Round 8, some of you may know him, which is his strategy, George Schäfer. Some of you may know him even better if I send you this team, or if I show you the team. Politoed, Gothita, Scrafty, Amoonguss, Mega Gengar, and Dewgong. So for those of you who don't know who this is, he actually won one of the big Wi-Fi tournaments, but no, not one where it was like only Europe or Europe and US. No, he won one where all of Japan tried to win. So he had a crazy 29-1 record in that tournament where you were only allowed to play 30 games. So he's definitely a very strong player. Recently finished 11th at the UK London Regional. Still using Parish, and definitely very strong player who also has a YouTube channel. I'm not sure if he's still actively uploading, but I'll definitely link his channel in the description. Very cool guy. I met there for the first time, and we started talking a little bit because I was like surprised by seeing an umlaut in his last name, but it turned out that he has like some German relatives and so on, so he knew some words of German, and yeah, we talked a little bit, exchanged contacts, and yeah, he's basically just a very good player who almost like perfected the Parish song teams and so on. But luckily I did have Aegis/Endganger, so 2 ghosts, and I was able to yeah, stop him from bringing his main Parish mode. But I predicted that a little bit, and I think I led with Gengar and Rodon Heat, but he didn't have the Amoonguss, but the Politoed. But then I made some good moves, predicting where the eject button was, and then yeah, I just won from there. There wasn't really much he could do. I burned everything and then stalled a Trick Room, and he never really got a Parish song, I think. So yeah, good game. I was able to overcome this interesting matchup. Like, it's not something you really want to face in a tournament because anything can happen against a Parish song team, basically. But yes, we won this. So the last round would decide whether I would go to Top Cut or go home in shame against Matthew Bowles. Looking at his team, I was not particularly happy, but I was like glad not to see any like strong Kangaskhan team, but rather something that I thought I had the better matchup against. So I knew that I could, if I made good plays, I could come out on top. He led with a very defensive mode. I expected him to be like an offensive Sun team, but then he threw out Porygon 2, Suicune, and snarled the whole time, and I had like Aegislash behind the substitute. But its only attacking move is Shadow Ball, so I couldn't touch the Porygon 2. And then I really got into some troubles because I was like snarled so many times. But then eventually I was able to maintain like Aegislash for the remainder of the battle, and then in the end when he had like Mega Venusaur and Terrakion, Aegislash was doing a fantastic job there, as those can't really touch it. I think Rotom was also decent at taking down the Suicune, and yeah, I just somehow managed to win. It was a pretty long day that day, and just like in Germany, but in the UK we didn't manage. Like we played 2 rounds less in the same time. Anyway, I made it to the Top Cut, and I was very happy. We went out, had some fun that night. It was cool, but I really wanted to focus on the next day because I really knew I wanted to go to Worlds. I knew that a top 8 finish would probably secure my trip, but I wanted to go for like at least top 4 to make it sure. And yeah, let's see what happened in Top Cut. So first round I was up against Rachel, Anna, and SPEV. Oh, I have an E too many in that. SPEV, yeah. SPEV. Anyway, her team consisted of Mega Lopunny, Sylveon, Gastrodon, Scissors, Zapdos, and Garchomp. I think it was a V Garchomp, but I never really saw that, I think. But she used it at some other tournament. Anyway, I had heard about her team, like I knew a little bit about it. And when I saw the preview, I thought, yeah, I could go for a Kangaskhan and Sylveon, and just go for the turn 1 Inner Focus, fake out on her Sylveon and Hyper Voice. And turn 1, game 1, she faked out my Kangaskhan, and I went for the Hyper Voice, got made like lots of damage, and was in pretty good position after that. And then with Aegislash and Landorus in the back, I think I was able to clean up that game pretty easily. The second game was a little bit more difficult because she switched up her leads and made some good plays. And Zapdos was a little bit difficult to take down, I think. Oh no, she didn't bring Zapdos. Or maybe she did in the second game. Anyway, it was like closer definitely, and her Scissor was giving me some trouble. I think it was some life upset. And yeah, but I was able to beat her. So I managed to advance to the top 16. I I knew before that I would probably be facing a friend of mine, Till, if he also made it like past his round top 32, which he did. So we would face off, and he actually got inspired by seeing me use Gengar at German nationals to also use it in his team. He had Ladias in Germany, so yeah, this matchup all of a sudden like it was like so bad because between like with Gengar and Rotom Wash lead, there is not really anything I can do because my main way to touch Rotom Wash was like Gengar and Sylveon, and his Gengar could shut down both of those pretty decently, and yeah, also Kangaskhan couldn't really do much, so I was like, okay, how am I going to do this? But I didn't really have the energy at that point to like think about a match plan before the game, so I just kind of went in there and hoped for the best in team preview. I also knew that if I would win this game, I could um, allow myself not to go to the Italy Nationals because I had some stuff in university going on Monday, and the tournament would have been on Saturday and Sunday, and I wasn't sure if I could make it back, but I would have failed a course if I wasn't there. So yeah, basically I just really wanted to win here. Um, the first game I led with Gengar and Sylveon, and he started off with the aforementioned Gengar and Rotom Wash, and I thought that he knew my set on Sylveon, so I predicted him to predict me to blah blah blah, you know how this goes. Basically, I protected Gengar and attacked with Sylveon with the Hyper Voice, because that means that the next turn I could have gone for Helping Hand Sludge Bomb to KO his Rotom, while not activating his Citrus Berry in the process. However, he just doubled up into Sylveon with Sludge Bomb and Hydro Pump, because later he told me he thought it was Choice Specs, so I was like a little bit upset after that turn, but after that there wasn't really anything I could do. I mean, I could send in Landorus, but then he would just KO everything with Rotom, and I was like, oh my gosh, like there's no chance I'm going to win this. So for the second game, I thought, okay, if I want to have a chance at winning this, I have to like pull him on my home turf, like getting to where he's uncomfortable. And so my plan was to go into a prediction game, and I led off with Gengar and Rotom Heat versus his Gengar and Rotom Wash. And so I like tried to trade blows, like I protected something and then like attacked something to hope that he would protect and attack into my protect, and so on, to just like slowly like take away some damage. And then my plan in the end was to take out his Gengar and then have Kangaskhan come in, and maybe with Landorus together they could do something. But he played so well, like at one point I had my Gengar that was already hit by a Thunderbolt, I think, and I was sure that I would like could take another one. So I was hoping that he would go for like there was a safe turn for him. Like after I think he revealed Icy Wind. Oh yes, okay, now I remember. He revealed Icy Wind, showing me that he did not have Shadow Ball on the set. So I was like, oh no, he doesn't have Shadow Ball. I could have brought Aegislash and just wall his team. Um, but that was obviously not an option in the second game anymore because I didn't bring Aegislash. I had Landorus and Kangaskhan in the back and led with Gengar Rotom. So my Gengar was at -1 speed, and he could overheat Gengar and Sludge Bomb Rotom for like KOs, and there wasn't really anything I could switch into that. So I protected Rotom, and I was hoping for overheat to miss the Gengar. However, he doubled up in that with Sludge Bomb and Thunderbolt. Like he played that well. Like he didn't give me any chance of coming back into this game. But then, I mean, there was one thing he couldn't prevent me from doing, and this was sending out Landorus and going for Rock Slides. So that's what I did. Send out Landorus, and I went for Rock Slides. And I got flinched. Like I flinched him, and I flinched him again. And I flinched him again, and he burned me, and I flinched him again. And then Kangaskhan came in. I mean, I think I like did one good prediction where I low kicked into his Landorus as he switched into Kangaskhan, but that turn only worked because my Landorus on the same turn flinched his Gengar, so it couldn't Will-O-Wisp me. So I really hexed a lot this game. Like I got very lucky. I really shouldn't have won this game, I think. Like, I don't know, I think I got like 5 flinches out of 6 rock slides or something crazy. And then, like, I don't know, I didn't know what to say. I knew that the third game would probably decide, but I just couldn't really like deal with the situation because I knew that Till had been working very, very hard this season and that he was a very good player. Yeah, he's a friend of mine. Of course, I want to see my friends do well, and I don't know, emotions just like stopped me from playing as well as I wanted to in the third game because I really didn't want to beat him, if that makes sense. But I also didn't want to lose, and I don't know, it was just a very, very bad situation. But in the end, I don't know, like we took a break a little bit for like 2 minutes or something and talked a little bit about what just happened, and then we like made an agreement to just like give our best in the third game and to play as well as we could, so that the better player or like the luckier player could advance. And so in the third game, I brought H Slash because now I knew that his Gengar didn't have Shadow Ball. And I think turn 1 he missed Hydro Pump on my Kangaskhan, and I don't know, I made like good moves and had H Slash in position, and he couldn't break the substitute with his Gengar. And knowing that was such a big advantage, and then I don't know, I just beat him like pretty straightforward, and I didn't feel like there was much he could do in the third game, and I was like so sorry for him because he was so close of like getting the like paid trip to the Worlds. Um, and I was in like the same position in 2012 where I lost in the top 8 in nationals, which was 1 round away from making the trip. But I don't know, like I knew I would like get another chance. And Till also had another chance in Italy, but he once again, like 1 round because before he would have had the trip, he lost, and then at the last regionals he still had another chance, but once again he was just like very close from making it to the day 2 invite. And I was very, very sad for him because, as I said, he's a great guy and great player and so on. And I was so happy when he announced that he would still be going to Worlds, and we hung out before Worlds in New York together with like a bunch of other Germans, and it was like a lot of fun. And yeah, and he made it through day 1, proving that he deserved to be in Worlds day 2. So I was also very proud of him, and yes, I somehow won that set. Cool, that took me pretty long, but it's also something I'm like still a little bit emotional about that set in particular. Anyway, in top 8 I was paired up with Sekiam. I thought his team was like looked a little bit annoying to play against, but I had a plan against those Salamence Sand teams, as I said, which was Sylveon. So the first game I led with Sylveon and Kangaskhan, and yeah, like I expected him not to know about my Sylveon set, so I like faked specs and went for fake out Hyper Voice in the first turn. And then the second turn I just stayed in with Kangaskhan and went for the return on his Blaziken and protected my Sylveon as he doubled up into there with Double Edge and Overheat. So that was good. And then the next turn I KO'd his Sylveon, I KO'd his Blaziken with Sucker Punch. Sylveon, thanks to the bulky EVs, took the Double Edge, and then Hyper Voice finished off the Salamence. So I was up 4-2 after 2 turns, which was pretty good. So I won that game. And then in the second game, I led with Kangaskhan and Aegislash against Blaziken and Salamence once again. And this time I went for Fake Out on the Blaziken and substituted. So I got I faked out the Blaziken and went for a substitute with Aegislash, but his Salamence revealed Swagger, and he swaggered the Aegislash. However, I got the sub up, and the next turn I switched my Kangaskhan into Landorus T, and he went with Superpower into the Landorus, which was good for me. And Aegislash got off the Shadow Ball through confusion. I played a little bit risky there, maybe I should have just King Shielded, but I really felt like if I could hit this attack I would just win, and this is what happened. So yeah, I won 2-0. The set wasn't too exciting, but yeah, like we didn't like get into that like positional game you can have with those teams with like Tyranitar, Melodic, and Amoonguss, because he went with his hyper offensive mode. But yeah, luckily my tricks worked out, and I was lucky to hit through confusion twice. So yeah, but good games. He managed to qualify for Worlds in Italy, so that was also fine. In the semifinals, talking about Italy, I faced against Eugenio Discalzi once again, with his famous Trick Room team. So we already kind of knew what to expect from each other's teams, but I made sure to play even better this set. It is up on YouTube. I will link it in the description if you want to watch it again. I didn't watch it to prepare for this video, but I think what happened was I led with Kangaskhan Aegislash both times, and then Rod Rodom and either Sylveon or Gengar in the back. And then the first game I switched in, or like in one game I switched in Sylveon in knockoff, and in the other game I switched in Gengar in close combat, so that was pretty nice. And yeah, the games were definitely very, very cool. I was very excited to know I made it into Worlds, obviously, which is always like a great feeling. And yeah, everybody was cheering for me. We had Billa also in the top 4, so I don't know, he made it to like his second top 4 appearance in 1 year in nationals. Is like so crazy. But yeah, like we hung out the whole time. It was like very funny, and was very happy to have like people around me to like talk to me after the games with Till, and also like to Till, thanks to him that he like supported me, and he told me that if I had to like beat him, then I should at least go on and win the whole tournament. So I tried to do that, and yeah. In the finals, I played against the world champion Arashomati. Mean, you might probably know him. He ran the exact like so-called Japan Sand team. I really don't like the name, and I think the creator of it also said that he thought it was embarrassing to have it called that way. I prefer to just call it Sandmans or something like that. So he had the team with Salamence and Sand, but I had Sylveon and Aegislash as leads, like designed for that specific matchup. Since it was safety goggles, Sylveon, I could just lead that against Amoonguss and go for a substitute and just Hyper Voice. However, as I said before, like in the top 4 against Eugenio, he used knockoff on my Sylveon, revealing the safety goggles. So yeah, he told Arash, and then he knew about the safety goggles, so he didn't go for the Spore in the finals, unfortunately. Would have been cool, but he went for the Sludge Bomb, which was probably a better play anyway. But so like yeah, I still managed to get myself into like a good position, and then the Scarf Landorus could just pretty much clean the first game. And in the second game, even though I lost my Rotom Heat that I brought for this game, turn 1, I could, like with the substitute up and with Kangaskhan and Landorus, I think the matchup versus this kind of team is still like pretty good. I also linked the finals against Arash, so you can watch them if you want to. They were definitely good games, and I managed to somehow win another national championship after Germany in 2014. So this was also the third finals I played in at nationals, like after 2012 in France, and then Germany, and now in the UK. So I was like I don't know, like I couldn't really believe that I was doing that well once again at nationals. It's always kind of crazy if you go like very deep into a tournament, and then like there's only players left that you know, and every round you play someone who's like very good, and each match could go either way. Like starting from like all games in Top Cut can go either way, and then you like somehow make it, and you're at the end of the day, like there were, I don't know, like so many people, like over 400, I don't know, 500 people playing to become the UK national champion, and then you reach that. Like everybody else is like looking up to you in some kind of way, like maybe not as like a role model or anything, but they all know that you won the tournament, and you're like the only winner of the tournament. Like there's nobody else in the world that can call themselves 2015 UK Masters national champion, and that feeling is kind of cool. I wish that to anybody, like that it may happen to you at some point, but winning a big tournament is like one of the coolest things in the world. So yeah, that was kind of cool. I mean, and then beating Arash as well. Like I knew him for quite a while, and we played in like 2014 nationals, the first round actually, where he was already qualified for world as the world champion, and I was able to narrowly beat him, and then I was able to beat him again here, which is kind of cool, I guess. Um, but I'm sure he'll get his revenge eventually. And he also managed to qualify to Worlds with that, so he was also happy, and everybody was happy. And the Germans came over and hugged me, and everybody was celebrating, and I was just very happy and was happy that it was all over, and I got the trophy. And so yes, here are some last impressions. Like the picture on the bottom left is Billa, German Oglosa, Dufflo, and myself, like right before day one when we left the apartment in the elevator. The top right are my two national trophies that I now own, and top left you can see the screen, like final screen, 17 wins, 3 losses, one in round 2, one in round 5, and one in top 16. And then on the bottom right there's like a group picture with Team Germany and Biziges Bisbach. So yeah, basically like the whole community thing is very very important about these tournaments, as anyone who's been to tournaments will tell you that, and I can definitely confirm. It's just so much fun to hang out with people and like to like actually become good friends and see those people. And then there's the tournaments, and they are exciting, and you battle against some of the best players in the world, and you try to come up with new strategies and so on. So yeah, that's what basically gets me to play Pokemon, I guess. UK Nationals wasn't the best experience, I gotta be honest, because the organization was pretty bad and it took so long for the rounds to start. But I think like the second day went a bit smoother, and yeah, like from game to game, I just tried to focus more, and I don't know, somehow I was able to win. So thank you for watching. This video is pretty long. I'm not exactly sure about how I will upload it or how I will even like edit it or anything. I've been recording for like over an hour now. That's probably too long. However, I really wanted this to be like a video like with like more information about the games. If you just came here and you didn't watch the whole video and you just wanted to see what I was going to tell you in the end, if there was some crazy secret, I don't think there is a crazy secret, but yeah, like if you didn't want to check out the games, you don't have to. Like I don't know, like you can just come by, take the paste pin of the team that I will post in the description, and then go with that. But you can also watch the whole thing. I don't know. I don't really know how YouTube works yet and whether those long videos are too long. And now I'm still talking. I should probably stop. Anyways, thank you very much for watching. If you liked what you saw, you can leave me a like or what's it called? Subscribe to my channel. Thank you very much. I really need to drink something right now, as I was talking for like over an hour constantly, and see you.